Okay, ladies, so I spent all weekend and it was driving me crazy trying to figure this out. And I decided that it was much easier in the digitizing module. So you three have the digitizing module. I'm going to show you how I do it through the digitizing module. So the first thing I'm going to do, and you should be able to see my screen now, is that I'm going to go down to the taskbar and I'm going to click on my Sonnet embroidery. It's going to load, and then I'm going to scroll down to the digitizing. You can also go in it through the ribbon bar when you open up and go to the Create tab and go from there. But we're going to now select Load and Create Background Picture. Then I'm going to select Next. Then I want to create a new picture right here. So I'm going to click on that. This will all make sense once you see how it opens up to draw and paint. All right, now I'm going to go over here to Insert File, and I'm going to click on this icon, Insert Pictures, and look for my scanned file. Open up my Love JPEG. And you see what it does? It opens up into the Draw and Paint program under the Paint module. And this is where we started on Friday. So what I want to do first is click over here in this empty space, and it deselects the whole sheet. I only want a portion of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this box select icon right here and draw a box around that square. And click. Once I do, I put my cursor in the middle of it and it's moving now all over that screen. If you remember, and it should have defaulted to a 152 by 152 view, which is exactly 6 inches. So you can type in under view, you can type in right up here and resize canvas. You can type in 6 inches or 152 millimeters. And you want to keep the original scale. Then if you haven't done it yet, change the grid size to 25 millimeters or 1 inch. Now let's go back to, no, one more thing. Darken it. Go ahead here and darken your background. And now you can see it a little bit better. Okay? Next, we're going to go into the draw side of Paint and Draw. And there's our scanned picture to size. That's the important thing. Remember, then over here on the right side are your properties for the draw section of this program. And what you're going to do is you can delete the remove fill, but I'm going to leave it on because I want to show you something before I delete it. So I'm going to go down here to, remember we're going to do trace area. So I'm going to click on trace area and I'm going to click right there, just like that. I'm going to go down to the V and click just like that. I'm going to go to the the E, and click on it. But I'm going to switch to trace area and hole. And I'm going to click right there. Whoops, undo. I'll tell you why. So Control Z, and I'm going to click on the dove. Nope, should have worked. Hang on. Oh, you see what the problem is? My cursor is still tracing the area. So undo, undo again, because I want to get back to where I just have in this film strip, LVE. Now let me click over here. So if that happens, just get out of it, go over here and click on it, and you'll see the green line around the dove. Now I want you to leave it like that. Now, if you want to fine tune your nodes, it saves you time after you go into digitizing. So click the points. Remember, right down here is all the edit point screen. I'll click on that. And right now, I'm not going to do a whole lot of changes. I might do a few. Like I might go up here and just take the dove and bring this curved up, make it a little rounder, that kind of thing right here. And then I'm going to long hold on the shift key and then bring this square down because that's the square. That's the right turn function of this software. So remember when you click on it, it turns it to a square and straightens out the line. So we're going to do now the same thing. I'm done with this one. I'm going to go over here to the love. Remember, you can click on it here or more easily go to the path. And then you can delete these. So I'm going to go over here to the point with a negative, and that's the delete point. And I'm just going to delete all of these. And once I delete all of them, it leaves it with a straight line. And I'll probably change this point right here. Whoops. See, I messed up. You got to go back to make sure you add a point in. Whoops, right here. Add a point. Now it turns into the plus sign. And then I'm going to drag this, change it again, and just put it where I want it. Now, what I intend to do is change this one, and these. I'm going to change as many as I can to a square. And that is a corner. So you're going to convert the points to the corner by clicking over here on the right. And now just click. See how my cursor turned to a square? Click, click, click. That's already done. Click, click, and click. All right. Now, this one I might want to move. So hang on to the shift and drag that so it doesn't change back to smooth. All right, it's not moving. Well, it's not letting me, so I'm going to delete this one and see if that makes a difference. Don't stress, because I can always fix this in the digitizing sign. Now let's go to V and just quickly clean up V a little bit. We don't want to delete anything. We just want to move it around. So we're just going to move that with that line. I'm going to move this up here. Kind of round it off. These look pretty good down here. Now this one, if I move it around here, let's see if it'll let me move it. There. Now this time I can actually go over here to this point edit screen and click on point, convert points to curve, and make that hopefully a curve. So now before I add any more, I'm going to go back and make sure that I'm changing things around. And I think I'll just drag this one back here. I mean, I'm really doing a lot of fine tuning, and I don't think that's necessary because we're going to go into, it's going to roll back into digitizing. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select each one. I'm on the V, see over here on the film strip, and I'm going to click off, and now I got rid of the fill. Next one, E, click rid of fill, the dove, click over here, get rid of the fill, and then the L, and get rid of the fill. Whoops, over here. Now, if I can, I'm going to see if I can move this over. There, now I can. Because when you get rid of the fill, you can see the actual lines that you've scanned from the pattern. That's very helpful. So I can fine tune this dove too. I can just move this one up to here. Okay. And then this one. And I think that's all I'm going to do. Then go ahead and save it as an ECQ file. And I'm going to replace the one I did today, practicing. And yes, I do. Okay. Then I want to export it as a picture. Then I'm going to call it Love 2, and I'm going to save over this one. All righty. So I've saved everything. Go back to the screen, and all of them are selected. And then I'm going to close out Draw and Paint. So right down here, I have to do it a little differently. You should be able to just click on the X up here, but mine is hidden. So I'm just going to go down here in the taskbar, shows me what's open, and I'm just going to close Draw and Paint. And there you go. It brings it into the digitizing module. So you're creating the new picture just like you wanted to do, and you're going to select next. And here you're going to select next again. But here we're going to change it to resize it. I put in the 200 by 200 hoop, going to enter design size, and I'm going to put in 152 of a width and 152 as a height. All righty. And then I'm going to hit finish. There it is. Now, is everybody still with me? If you are, rewind the video and go back to see what you might have missed. So right now, what's in purple is my Draw and Paint file. So there's a couple of ways to do this. And the easiest way, sometimes for me, is to just go into Point and Create. And, you know, select, create your points. We're going to try Quick Create first, see how we do. So the pattern fill is not what we want. We want no fill. And I like to start with a running stitch. because then I can clean it up too, and that makes me happy. Then I'm going to go into my applique, and it says select applique fabric. And another box opens up. And remember when I said that I had scanned some of these fabrics? Well, let me see what I've scanned. I have to add it to add new background fabric and load a picture this time. And I'm going to switch to Close Bunny Knoll and switch to, come on, Blossom Trail and open up my Blossom Trail folder. And these are the colors that I didn't actually scan them. I took those little color blocks that Lori sends out on the newsletter every week. If you go into the scrap and sew as if you're shopping and you pull up the number or just any particular fabric, then you could click and save that. That's another lesson. So I'm going to pick purple first and then just hit next, next. And this line measured before, oh, I think it was 42 millimeters. So I'm going to go with 42. And then, okay. And it saves it in my fabrics. There we go. So now it's up there. See? So now I could just click on that and hit OK. It's not necessary, but you'll see how it's very helpful. So I'm going to scroll in a little bit, hold down the control key, and then I'm going to use the quick stitch function right up here on the toolbar and click quick stitch and click inside. See how it changes to that four-pointed shape? And see how it pulled all those lines from drawn paint? And I'm going to keep it at a low number of points and click OK. So because I selected that fabric, you see, it brought it in as my applique. And you can see that over here on the running stitch applique in the film strip. Now, if I want to change the colors, which I plan to do a different color for each of these, so I'm going to go up here to color change and make a color change. And I just used my Floriani Poly 40. And this time I think I'll go with pink. Or I don't know. Just doesn't matter what color it is. You'll change it later. And then I can change the fabric again too. And maybe I'll make this one blue. Blue dots. That's the blue dots from our class the other day. So I'm going to quick stitch right inside the V. Marches around the outline. And there's my blue fabric. Now I'm going to go to the next one. I'm going to click another fabric. And I'm going to load one of the other ones. As I said, this is for another day. So we're going to do that. Once you do all this, you don't have to do this. You can just click on it. I'm going to say 42 and finish. So there's my fabric and I click OK. So when I go in here, I'm going to do E. So I want to pick another color. Now this is only necessary if you want the machine to stop between all of them. And most of the time I do this. Then I go up to the quick stitch, right? Still highlighted. And I click inside the E. And there it goes. Marching ants is what they call it. Now, the next one, I'm going to load a solid color. So I can use just a quick color over here on the applique type, change it from fabric to quick, and I can just pick, let's say I'm going to pick this rose color. I don't know what colors I'm going to use, but for now, this is temporary. But this time I'm going to quick stitch auto hole. So if I had clicked here, it should work. Let's try it. And it's going to, oops, see, I don't want to do that because it's picking only the outline. So let's make sure that you go to quick stitch, auto hole, and click on this. And what happens, let me move it out of the way. What happens is there's the green line around the dove, that's the inside, and then the circle, and let's hit OK. And there it is, see? So I knew it could work. It's just, I don't know how. I think what happened was when we were in draw and paint, we needed to make sure that we had included the dove. And I thought we did, but I don't know what happened. Regardless, I'm happy now. So what I'm going to do right here is I'm also going to insert a color change right here. So when I do that after the fact, I click the color change, I go to pink, and it's below the dove. So I'm just going to slide it up before the dove. And now if I click off of it, you can see it. It's just not very obvious. You can see, let me see if I can zoom in. So you can see the pink stitching, the blue stitching, purple, and green. I usually do that first. Now I'm going to go back, and you can use the tools down here, the percentage tools, and you can use this eyedropper to zoom to whatever you want. For example, if I want to use that, I can just zoom to this part, and it takes me right to that. Make sense? Okay. Now let's go back to home, because this is where the edit screen is for home. So we're going to, I've got this selected here in the film strip, going to go to edit points. And I'm just going to drag this down here, and see, it just turned it into a curve, but I want to go back and change it. And the easiest way in this screen is just to hold down the shift key and click. So hold down the shift key and drag will work too, just like that. Just like this. This will make the curve of the dove a little bit more pronounced. There. And everything is looking good. I'm going to zoom back out a little bit. So I'm going to go back to the full screen. And now I have these digitized with just a basic running stitch. Now, someone wanted to straighten it out, so that's pretty simple. You're going to go to box select up here, and you're going to draw a box around this. And see all these handles? These are mirror top to bottom, mirror left to right, and then this one rotates, and I'm just going to rotate it to make sure. I'm just going to visually straighten it. That's not working. There. It's a little harder. I wish it had more fine tuning, but I'm sure it does. I just don't know where it is. So I'm actually done with this. Now, before I start changing any of my properties, I go up here to File, Save As, and I want to save this now as an EDO. And this is love. I usually capitalize these two. And I'm going to hit save. Now, if I want the L to have the running stitch, then I'm okay. But I'm going to go down, I right click on it. Okay, take your mouse, put it on top, right click, and go down to properties. And you'll see you have a fill area and line. Now you can do this before, but when I want to do things differently, I do them one at a time. I go into applique and I make sure that it says pre-cut piece. That's important. Then I go down and I make the distance 0.5, and that's my preferred way of doing it. You can do match the placement line, but I like a little bit of extra. And I hit apply. And then move it out of the way so you can see I'm still there. And I hit okay. Well, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to hit okay. Now, what it will do is if we go into Design Player, right up here, and we look to see how this stitches out, it'll do L first. Now, I'm not real happy with that. I see a little hole there. And then it does all that. So, continues on. So, usually what I do is I'll go in and go back and edit things that I don't like. And again, I'll zoom in here. Let's see if I can. There we go. See those little edit points? I'm going to delete those. So go over to the delete function, click on that, and click, 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 and click. And now it's back to being a straight line. Then I want to move some things around. So, and I like to do this more with just a running stitch, because if I'm doing a satin stitch, I can't see anything. So again, put the shift key down, change it to a corner, and then I'm going to delete these. I'm going to change, nope, don't want to delete it. I'm just going to move this one over. I'm holding the shift key down so it doesn't bounce back to a smooth line. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to scroll in with my mouse. Well, let me just see if I can zoom in here. And I think I'll delete these. Less points between two corners, the better, in my opinion. I'm going to move this one. Oops, see, I did it again. Control Z undos, and then I can put down the shift key and move it. Now I can go back and delete some of these here, especially these. And just move this one. Whoops, almost did it again. And move these. You see what I'm doing? I'm just fine tuning my original line. Now, if I were to import this, or export it rather, and I go up here to File, and I go to Export, you'll see Export Appliques. And if I click on that, I can go right to the SVG file and click on it. Now, I will do that just before I'm ready to save the last time, because this is kind of important. So what I do is I go to the next one and I do the very same thing. I right click on it and I change the properties and applique. I change it to pre-cut, apply, and hit OK. Whoops, nope, got to change this. I do that all the time. And hit OK. And then I'll go to this one, right click, and applique tab, pre-cut file, 0.5, apply, and OK. And this one, right click, applique, pre-cut, and 0.5. And now I know that whatever I do, they're the same. Now, if you want a bigger margin, then when you go to the running stitch, or where the film strip rather, when you go to any of these and right click, open properties, applique, you can go back and change this to 1.0. But if I'm going to do the some software called the E-stitch, the buttonhole stitch, I'm going to leave it at 0.5. If it's a satin stitch, that's usually wide enough to cover any extra. Now, how do I get it to not stop? Because what happens is the running stitch, if you click on this again, go to properties, and you go into pre-cut piece, if you look and read this, you'll see that the applique piece does stop automatically. Then you position the applique piece, it goes around, does the double stitch, and then it moves into the outside edges. So if you are doing a traditional, not cutting them out on your digital cutter, then you would select standard applique. That's the difference. Since we all have a digital cutter, we're going to pick pre-cut and apply. And then I'm going to change this back for me before I hit OK. Now, once I have these all fine-tuned, I then export the pieces. So if I go to, excuse me, export applique pieces, then I go to SVG, choice, and I hit export. And that's the scalable vector graphic that we want. And I don't know if you can see this here, but no, I don't have anything that the SVGs are there. So if I have love two like this one, I'm going to save over it because I don't want that. That's how I get in such a mess. So hopefully it saved over it. Okay. Now, I've got the shapes that I want. They're down here in my folder. So if we go in here, go to my Wander Lane, go to my Blossom Trail, you'll see this is Inkscape. I have Inkscape. And these are Inkscape symbols. If you have Chrome, it'll look like Chrome. Uh, Microsoft Edge, it'll have a little green thing, or not green thing, purple E, I think it has. So it just depends on your browser. But right now I'm trying to learn Inkscape, and that's why I associated the file with that. It will also associate it if you have the silhouette cutter like you, Terry. If you have that identified as your SVG, you want to have a silhouette cutter symbol, then it will do that too. But I changed it. I might change it back. It's not hard. Okay. So we're going to go back to, well, I'm going to close this one because I'm going to go back to the file. And I want to talk about this quickly. This is the nodes. And I can, again, just delete these nodes in the home screen. You got to be in the home screen. Remember that. Go to delete, and I'm going to delete this one, this one, this one. And change this one to a square. Oops, I deleted again. I do that all the time. Ay, 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 ay. Change that to a square or a corner and pull it down. Now I can go back and delete those two. I need somebody to tell me, don't forget to change it. Now, if it's a curve, I leave it. Like these are curves, I want that to be a nice shaped curve. And there's another curve, and then this is a straight. So I'll just go like that. Now I can't see. It looks like there's two of them here. So I'll go back to edit, zoom in with my magnifying glass. Go back to edit. Oh yeah. See these extra points? Delete. Whoops. I just added. I didn't do anything. It just moved it. So I'm going to go back and delete it. I can't get that through my head. And then I'm going to move this square down to here. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Alrighty. So I can still delete those two. I probably will. But I'll leave the curved areas so I can get a curve and then nice sharp straight edges. Alrighty. Now, I am going to go to the E in the film strip and I'm going to right click. You can do it if you're over here too. Watch. Nope. Sometimes it works. Sometimes I don't know. So I'm real new at this, so trying to figure it out just like you guys. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to take away. Now, let me tell you, I've got my SVG files. I've got all of these cleaned up, fine-tuned the way I want them. And now I am going to delete the applique and turn it to none. Apply, takes it away, and hit OK. Now, the reason for that is that's a running stitch. That's all it is. That becomes my placement line. So if I want to do it the traditional Kimberbell way, then I duplicate it and duplicate it again. Then I go over, I right click here on the second one. I go to properties and I insert a stop. Because in the applique program, it will do a double stitch. So what I can do is I can move this up to here. I can right click, go to properties, and do a double stitch. Apply. Sometimes you can see it, sometimes you can't. And then I insert a stop. And then this one is where I right click and select either a satin stitch, satin line, or a motif. If I want a satin line, I move this over so I can see if I like it. See, there's my satin line. Okay, and then I hit OK. And I turn off the edit points. I go back to select none, and there's what it looks like. Now, right now, those duplicates are all one top of the other. And that's why I use copy and paste. So I'm going to go back up to here, and instead, I'm going to delete this one here and go up, highlight it, because I don't want that one, it's off. I don't want that one, it's off. So what I'm going to do is I'm clicking on this one. I go to copy and paste, and it puts it right on top of it. I change that to a double stitch. No, don't do that. What I want to do, I do this sometimes and don't do that. Click on the second one, go to copy, paste. So now I have the 3 running stitches. I take one of the stops, put it in between. The other stop, right there. And because I change this to another color, the machine will automatically stop. I change this in the properties to a double stitch, apply. I don't need to change the color. The stop here that makes it not necessary to keep changing colors. So apply, hit OK. Then I go down here, I right click, and now I go into satin stitch, hit apply, and then select none. Now can you see the difference between duplicate and copy and paste? This puts it right on top of it. And I go around and I do all of that the way I want it. And I play around with it. That's what takes me the longest. So if I want to go up to here and do this one right here, I go to properties and, oops, sorry, back up. Yes, that's what I want to do. I go to properties. Sorry about that. Getting ahead of myself. And I do none. Hit apply, and it pulls it out. and I hit OK. Now, one last time, I'll check to see if everything looks okay. It's good. I'm okay with it. I might want to do this and move this one down a little bit, but it's a circle. I'm not going to fuss. So what are we going to do? We're going to go up to copy, paste, again, copy and paste. Alrighty. I want to right here, insert a stop. If you do this enough times, it'll make sense. Move this one up. You get good at it too. And then insert stop and move it so it stops after each one. All right, now in your mind, remember, think about it. Running stitch, that's the placement stitch. It stitches. You put your fabric down, which you've cut out now with your digital cutter, your silhouette or your memento. You go to the running stitch, right click, go to properties, and double stitch, apply, and OK. Now here, I might want to do something a little bit different. I'm not sure I want a satin stitch. So let's say I want to do a motif line. And these are all the options. And there's a category called universal, and that's the bean stitch. And I picked the bean stitch, and what that is that's a triple stitch. And this is where I get in the weeds because I like to play around with the different stitches and see what it looks like. So I hit apply. And if I picked something else, you could see it right away. Like if I picked one of these, how about that one? Apply. If you zoom in, let's see if I can zoom in. No, you can see what it looks like right there. But I don't want that. I want a bean stitch, what I call a bean stitch. This is a different one. See what this one looks like and hit OK. Doesn't look like much of anything. Let me zoom it in. Now, what happens here with some of these is the stitches are too long. So this would not be ideal for this type of design. That's what I use for the glitter flex and felt. That's what I do for that. And then I go into properties again. And I'll go back up to the bean stitch here. Or I'll go into my Pfaff machine or my Viking machine because you guys know what stitches you like best. And they're all in the category, the way the machine sets them up. That's the Pfaff stitches. But what's nice, it gives me options. So I can play around with their heirloom stitches or their applique stitches. And let's see what this one looks like. Let me see if I can move it out of the way here. So if I do that, let's see what it looks like. It doesn't look like much because it's a straight line. See that? That doesn't work. For me, anyhow. That's a zigzag. And then this one is your applique stitch. Let's see what that looks like. And I don't like that either. Usually what I end up doing is choosing a candle wicking. I go into Pfaff, which you guys know this, you see it in my designs. And I'm going to pick optional feet stitches because that's where they live. And I'll click on that. And I hit apply. And that's what it's going to look like. Then you can play with the height and the width here. I can change that to 4. I can change this. Oh, won't let me. And hit apply. Really didn't make any. Oops. Let's see what happens when I go to 4. Yeah, made it a little closer together. So sometimes I'll do that. You just have to play around with it and see what you like. Sometimes you'll get the weirdest looking stitches. I like the overcast too. Sometimes you get a really neat looking stitch. Not there though. Or there. So you see what I'm talking about? I can go in and get cross stitches. I like the cross stitch here. But in this case, it just doesn't look good. And I can also move this off that placement line by mirroring it over here in this screen right there. Let's see what it looks like. See, and then it goes in. So that's how some of the eggs that I did, that's how I did that. But no, we're going back to, let's see what the essential stitches pulls up. That's a zigzag thing. Then I'm going to turn off mirror. And I can click on fit to line. See what happens. No. So all of these are just, yeah. So when I do motifs, I usually stick with cross stitches. I do like to play around with the decorative ones. Depends on what we're working with. I'll go back to my candle wicking. There you go. Go back to making it smaller and hit OK. So does that make sense? That's how I do every one of them. And you see how I got the shape here for the silhouette? I mean, the memento or the silhouette, the SVGs. That's how I did that. And reducing the nodes is another lesson. Now, let's take a look at what this looks like in life view. That's what it looks like. So this is what I go with, because this is how I can individualize each one of these. So it becomes a way that you can stop if you wanted to and jump ahead. But I like the fact that it double stitches it down, because if you use the same color thread, it's not going to show. So I'm going to save this right now as love to, and I'll go back and clean it up. Decide what I want to do. But that's that EDO file. So as long as you have an EDO file, you can jump back and forth, back and forth. And I'm not ready to save it. I can export it as a VP3. I'm not ready to do that yet. Okay, I'm not even in the right file. Okay, so that's why it says love to export it. And if it's exported, then I had to do it again. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. And then when you're done, you click out of this digitizing module. So go down here. For me, I'm going to have to click out of it here. And there it takes you into the regular. You can also hit finish, and that takes you back to the screen too. So there's my file. And I can see in real life basically what it's going to look like, and I'm not happy with it. I can see some spots right here I need to clean up and down here and clean up. But if you do your quick create, you can still clean it up by going back to that home and cleaning up the nodes. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing. Hopefully, you guys, if you have any questions, just let me know. And then feel free to just stop and rewind and watch it again. But it does take multiple times to learn this. Remember, I've been working on this since November. It's not something you can pick up real quick, in my opinion. Yeah, me. That's me. All right. See ya. I'm going to have lunch. Bye.